Welcome yet to another edition of Game Time with Marco and Lovu. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much for the feedback that you gave us on the last episode that we had right here with Coach Paulo Shipanga. And what an interesting episode we had that time as we continue bringing the big guns in the world of football. And today is no difference. I have another big gun in the world of football, in Namibian football, in Southern African football, and to a certain extent in world football. That is Mr. Rukoro. Mr. Rukoro, the former SG of the Namibia Football Association, former Desert Warriors goalkeeper. I hear you also played some university football during your younger days.
Oh, yes, I did.
All right, welcome. And welcome. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just take us back a little bit, just to get to know you. For those that don't know you, Mr. Rukoro is a former SG at the Namibia Football Association. He served under several presidents. I can only count 3 that I remember, but he's going to update us on how many he served under or he served alongside with. And just take us through the football bug. When did it bite Pedro Rukoro?
Very early in my life. You know, I grew up in I was born and bred in Chuarongo. Supported Life Fighters as a small boy. Played for the club when I was, I think, 15. Watched and admired and hero worshipped some of the best footballers in of the era. The Emmanuel Kamutherandu, Kapushi Kuhanga, my cousin, and many others. So Oscar Mengo was my childhood hero. It's the man who made me really dream about this game. When I moved to Windhoek, I lived down the street, from his house. So football was always in the environment. And Ben Wanivi, former chairman of Hungry Lions, a very big club at the time, also lived just on the other side of the street. And that's the real serious football that I played. I played for Hungry Lions, along with Carlos Cambaekwa, Justice Basson, the great, one of the best strikers to ever play football in this country. Billy Trahepa, so many other.
That was way before
players.
Independence.
Oh yes, that was way before independence.
Now, taking a look at you now, you are based in Hobabis because you say you're born in Ochuarongo. I always thought you were a Hobabis born through and through. What took you to Hobabis?
The Herero culture is a very interesting culture. We follow cattle, as we are herdsmen by nature, and where the grass is, that's where we go. And Maheke, being a natural cattle country, my family moved to Maheke, Ochumbinde area, Dallas Manes, and my mother also moved into a new marriage in Aminus and so on. So I was completely uprooted from Ochuarongo, Ochuarongo, to become a Maheke boy. Played for Epukiro Chiefs in Hobabis, and later on joined Desert Rollers, where I played for 12 years.
12 years at Desert Rollers, yeah. That's a huge amount of time, a long time ago. Now looking at it, during your playing days at Desert Rollers, who did you play with and how did those people influence you in football? Oh,
when I joined Desert Rollers, I was also very, very, very young. I think I was like 20 years old when I joined Desert Rollers. And I played there with the great Crooks Nunuhep, probably the smartest footballer I have ever played with. I played there with Ferry Kudashike, who later on became a referee. I played with Takulu Bazuka Waitele, top players. Jonathan Maharero, Harold Cavari, Robin Clapanello. I played there with Dennis Kashuanyo, later on joined African Stars, played for the national team. Nogs Kaputu also played for the national team. Kaheke, the Kaheke boy who played for Civics and also for the national team. So there were
a lot of them.
A lot of them. That is the club where the Berry Rukoro was really formed.
And then when did you retire and why did you retire?
Very interesting indeed. While I was playing for Desert Rollers, at the same time I was also the secretary of the regional league in Omaheke. And in September 96, I was a delegate to the NFA Congress. At the time, the chairperson or the president of the Football Association was Elliot Hiskia. So, and we had this Congress here at the Windhoek Showgrounds, and that is the Congress that introduced a motion of no confidence in the sitting leadership, and a new leadership was installed. And I was elected as one of the interim committee members. And I remember Desert Rollers was playing in a tournament in Marinda while I was here representing the region. And after the Congress on a Saturday, I went to Marindal to play my last football match in September 96.
1996, yeah.
96 for Desert Rollers, and then I retired immediately after that match because now I have moved into administration and leadership of football.
Yeah, your administration, we'll talk about it a lot in terms of your style of administration and a lot of other things. You have moved now totally into administration, and you are now part of the interim committee. How was it? How did you find it?
No, it was really a learning curve. Of course, I was already in administration. I've always been a leader I've always been head boy in the schools where I went to.
You were head boy?
Yes, before. I was chairman of my club teams in my schools, and I've always been in leadership positions all my life. And of course, when I moved into the interim committee, it was not really unfamiliar waters, but of course it was a higher level with new expectations, harder expectations, and so on. And we needed to swim or sink.
All right. There was a point in time, especially towards the end of your administrative years, where you were accused of not being in possession of any educational documents. Take us through that period, take us through those accusations, and clarify what was going on.
Of course, I'm not the kind of person who argue about things. When you think that I will try and justify what you are accusing me of, I will agree with you and argue to the contrary. And I've always argued that, of course, the people who introduced education thought about people of lesser capacity than myself.
What do you mean about that?
Because if you need education to, I always say to people that, look, the position that I occupied at the NFA is a sought after position. If I can do that without education, and you think that you can do that only when you have the right education, then of course you are admitting that I'm at a higher level, naturally, without any education, than yourself.
Okay.
Are you getting it?
Yes, I get it. Tip.
Yeah.
All right, now, as part of the interim committee, when now did you get to be a substantive Secretary General?
That was quite an interesting journey, and I think one day you will see a book about this, because it's quite a story to tell. After Omaruru, after we have served about a year, we went to an NFA Congress in Omaruru, and because now I've spent about a year establishing myself and having learned how the operations of the Football Association worked, and having been in charge of the competitions committee, which is the most active committee of the Football Association, because you deal with competitions all the time. I was asked by my colleagues not to stand for an elected position, because they wanted to give me a position in the competitions department of the NFA. And I agreed with that. We went to Omaruru. A new leadership under the leadership of Ims Namasep was elected. John Munyo was brought in as vice president at the time. And you will remember that Eliphas Chipanga was still the Secretary General. And I was then appointed officially as head of the competitions department of the NFA, responsible for all the competitions, and that's the department that can best make you
or
destroy you. So, of course, I did very well. When we first went into football, the total sponsorship to Namibian football was $60,000 only.
For all the teams and the national teams?
Everything. Everything was 60,000 Namibian dollars only. When I explained this to a Herero man to understand, I explained to him that it's only six cows, not fat, 6 lean cows. That's what it was worth.
For the whole year?
For the whole year.
Wow.
So, and now we had to really change the whole landscape, because Namibian football could not grow on the back of 60,000 Namibian dollars. So we had to look good with 60,000 so that you can attract more.
Yeah.
And the competitions department is the shop window of a football association. You look good, you sell yourself to the business community, to the public through your competitions. If you fail to do that, the football association is not going to grow. You are not going to generate money, you are not going to put bums on seats, and you are not going to raise money through the gates, and you will fail. So, and my responsibility was precisely that. Put more bums on the seats, attract more people, get more people through the gates. When you do that, the sponsors will become interested, because sponsors love
attention in crowds, yeah.
Crowds, and that means more money. More money will be invested in the education of coaches and referees. The quality of the product will go up, and as a result, more money. It now becomes a vicious cycle, and that is how we pushed from 60,000 Namibian dollars to over 30 million Namibian dollars. At a time, you will remember, Marco, at a time we were the 6th best sponsored country on the African continent.
Yeah. And how was it then now at the competitions desk? How did you then move to the SG position?
Yes, there was a period that my boss now, Eliphas Chipanga, was suspended. And then my friend Willie Swarts acted for about 2 weeks, and it was so tough that he got some migraines and he couldn't handle it. He resigned after 2 weeks. The executive looked around and they said, "Hey, my friend, you must take over." So I took over, and now my responsibility, I had to keep the responsibility of the competitions committee, the competitions department, and also do the SG job. And now it became broader, and you will remember that at the time we were pushing a qualification for Burkina Faso 98. And we really did wonderful work there. We broke a little bit of the barriers between ourselves and government. At the time, you remember there was this word being thrown around that government should not interfere and so on.
Yes.
And my approach has always been that, you know, football is the biggest pastime activity of the people here in this country. And because it is the biggest, we cannot argue that it is none of the business of government. So
government must be invested
yes,
in it.
the government, that was my conviction. And I think that is one of the things that really helped me, because I tried to maintain healthy relationship with whatever minister came into during my time at the NFA. And we did very well, so much so that the barriers were really broken down, and we could really work together. Reston was the coach at the time. Peter Ubeyan was appointed as director.
Technical director?
Director in the ministry, and also technical director at the Football Association. And we could really broaden the brain basket around around football at the time and the national team. And on the back of that, I think we could send the team to Burkina Faso successfully.
So you're the first SG to send the national team for
AFCON.
AFCON.
Yes, all the national teams, all the qualifications was pushed by myself. I always tell people that, there's only a few Namibian moments. I call them Namibian moments. It's independence, Nuyoma and SWAPO and the politicians were involved. The other 4, it's very Rukoro.
I like the confidence and the arrogance. So now there we have you.
Of course, you cannot disregard what Frankie Fredericks with the Bomber Girls and so on achieved.
Yeah.
They also became Namibian moments. But I'm talking about
the first ones,
the
original ones. Okay. Now you are there now as SG. Before we go to that one, how is your relationship with Willie?
Willie?
Yeah.
Me and
Willie, your football relationship.
Yes, me and Willie are friends forever. We fight now. And people will think that I'm going to kill because Willie will never kill me. So people will think I'm going to kill Willie. It's not going to happen. Willie is my friend. Me and Willie, we have a lot of mud on our feet. We have gone through so many things. We have done wonderful things together, and we fought some of the most interesting battles together.
How does that improve your education, your football education in those fights? How do they improve them?
Marco, the things that I have learned in this game of football, I could never have learned at any institution of higher learning. I always tell people that one of the most interesting, most important learning curves for me was working with former president of the NFA, now judge president of our country, Pedro Damas.
Yes.
A very interesting character, but so resourceful. I remember at the time, you will remember that when he took over as a football association, as the Football Association president, I was on suspension.
Yes.
I was suspended by John Muñoz, my friend John Muñoz.
Yes.
Very other interesting character also. Very resourceful man. But let's talk about Pedro Damas for now. So, and I received this call from a fellow executive member, Pro Riatwa, calls me. He said, no, the president of NFA wants to see you. And I'm like in the village, and just got off a horse at the time. And I said, but why? No, he wants to see you tomorrow, like tomorrow. And I'm sitting about 400 kilometers from here. And it's in the afternoon, so I had to drive through the night to be here the next morning. And remember, I was still employee of the NFA because I was only on suspension, so I had to come. And the next morning, I was told to go to Conradi and Damas there by Toyota. To meet the president. And the president tells me, look, I have gone through some of your work. And I think I need somebody with the skills you have. I said, okay. So we are going to drop this thing because the case is going nowhere anyway. So we are going to drop these things. You are coming back to work, but now you are going to be my personal assistant. So, okay, I said, that's good and challenging. And of course, it's an opportunity for me to rebuild my name. So I went there and I was full of confidence. I knew him to be a very bright man. And if he likes my work, then it means there's something there. I have something that other people may not have congratulated me for before. And I go there and I'm doing letters for Damasep. I'm doing 20 letters a day, and then I come there, he reads these letters, and then he takes this red pen, it looks like this thing after. I said, this man said he likes what I did before. but now he's completely breaking me down to rebuild me from scratch or what. And it went on for like a good 4 or 5 months. I'm telling you, I can remember that day when I brought these, I think, 8 letters to his office for him to sign. And then normally he will sit there, he will go through the letters maybe like 2 times, and then he will take this red pen. I follow his hand to this small pot where the pens are. And when he picks up that red pen, I will say to myself, goodness me, now I must redo the letter. I must redo the letters again. And he will go through this thing with this red pen of his, and then he sent me back. But on that particular day, I brought these letters, but I already noticed that the red was becoming less and less and less and less. And because it was not only grammar, and it was also about style, because he wanted to install his style, into me. And on this particular day, I followed his hand going to that pot, and then he took this black pen and he started signing these letters. And then he looked, before he did that, he looked at me, he looked at the letter, he looked at me, he looked at the letter, and then he took this, his hand went there, I followed it with my eyes, and then he signed. I didn't leave, when he said, no, now you go and send the letters. I didn't go out of the office. In fact, I put the file on the reception table. I went into the toilet and I said, I celebrated. I said. So shortly after that, we were opening Soccer House. Yeah. And he asked me to do the president's address, keynote address. And I did this thing. And he read it, and then he looked at me. And he said, Barry, you know the way he is, huh? Yeah. I think you have arrived. and I just smiled, and then he said, okay, now you can send it to Mr. Kaolongo, and then they can do whatever changes they want. So I did. Kaolongo was the PA to the state president at the time. So, and for me, I think I really thank Damas for what he did to me. At the time, it was very cold, brutal, but I think I really benefited from that.
Now, let's look at your tenure at Football House. There were a lot of good things that happened. Should we start with the good things?
Wherever I can swim.
Okay, all right. Let's start with the good things. Give us your top 5 achievements at NFA.
You see, it has always been a very difficult question for me to deal with, because the things that really stays with me as a football administrator are not so important to you. But of course, to satisfy the public.
No. Tell us your top 5 achievements. Don't satisfy the public.
Okay.
Your top 5 achievements.
Okay. Let me say this. Qualification for Burkina Faso.
Okay.
Qualification for Ghana 2008. The Chan thing. Even qualification for Egypt, the last one that they just, like Mourinho did, qualify for the final, they got him out of the way.
Yes.
I qualified the team for Egypt, and then they got me out of the way. But all those things are very, very dear to me. But the things that are most dear to me are the processes. The things that we put in place in order for us to achieve what we celebrated.
Give us some of those processes.
Yes. Waking up on a Saturday morning, when we introduced the Youth League, for example, you wake up on a Saturday morning and you see 16, 15 years old boys and girls with their talk bags at 7 o'clock in the morning, going to Football House and to play football. And then you realize that for her or him to have been up this time and ready to play a football match at 7 in the morning, it means that she went to bed early on a Friday. That to me was the most important thing. Very, very important.
So introduction of youth football was one of them?
Huge. And if I don't mention the name of Jacob Ammaning, I will be in the wrong.
Jakes Ammaning.
Jakes Ammaning,
Okay.
very instrumental in that. You
So
know,
by the way, for those of you that don't know, Jakes Ammaning is the former employee of the Namibia Football Association, a former coach. He was a former team manager. He did a lot of things at Football House. But
Yes.
yeah.
no, very, 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 very instrumental person in that. You know, I always tell people that as a football administrator, as a leader of the administration part of the NFA, I did not need to know everything about everything. I only needed to know enough not to be lied and misled.
But how come
And-
Jakes Ammaning gets so much stick from the public?
Because he was so good.
But you never defended him.
I did.
No,
I defended all my employees with everything in my, with all the energy that I needed to do. Jakes Ammaning could not have lasted 2 months in football if I did not. I defended Jakes Ammaning, Tom Seinfeld, Ronnie Kanalelo, everybody, Titus Kunamwene, Tem Isaacs, at the most important platforms. You know, I'm normally.
But Mr. Rukoro, you never defended them in public.
No, you don't need to do that. As a leader, you defend.
But isn't the public pressure also, does it not play a role?
No, it does play a role, as long as the leaders of football believe me in what I'm saying away from the public domain. And then we are good to go. I don't need to justify to everybody in the street why Jakes Ammaning should stay.
Okay.
But the results were there. We had a very good friend of mine, Tiger Kwagosev, in the same position. In the same position before we appointed Jakes. I had to call Tiger into my office to explain to him why we must let him go, so that Jakes must take over.
How did he take it?
Of course, he did not take it well, but I had a job to do because we needed to elevate youth football to the next level. And I knew I have a God-given talent. Even when I appoint my goat header, I can immediately see this guy will make me rich.
All right. You've spoken about the good part. Now let's go to the controversial aspects of football. According to you.
But before we do that, why don't you want to hear the other part of what I'm also very
I thought we were done. Okay, yeah, you can continue.
You see, the process that we started with immediately after Kanyuka left, you remember we brought in Roger Palmgren, and then Roger Palmgren left in that controversial manner.
How do you feel about that appointment? You say when you appoint a code header, you can tell.
Yes.
The Roger Palmgren one.
He was the right appointment. He was, in terms of knowledge, in terms of knowledge, he was the right appointment. But of course, we did not have enough time so that I could judge his character. You know, sometimes you need to know the character of a man to be able to see whether this guy will go through the fire with me or not. Interestingly, I got that feeling when we appointed Tom Seinfeld.
Yes.
But I didn't get that when we appointed. I knew that he had a wealth of knowledge, but whether he will tolerate the inadequacies of Namibian football, like Tom did, that was something that we did not have with Roger Palmgren. But it was the most fortunate thing. It turned out to be the most fortunate thing,
Yes.
his departure, because now we had the opportunity to appoint our own Ricardo Manetti in that position. And I think there's a different journey to Ricardo becoming, being in that position, in the right position at the right time, for him to take over that. But that is a story for another day. But then we appointed Ricardo, and we started to say, this is the lovely process. We started to say that, look, we must put things together. After the Nigeria match, you remember we were 6 minutes away from beating Nigeria, a World Cup bound Nigeria.
Yes, they were actually on their way to the Confederation Cup.
Precisely. And we were only 6 minutes away from beating them. And the next week, I said to Kado, we must put these things in writing. The process, the things that we have done well to prepare for Nigeria to be able to put up that kind of performance. That must become our intellectual property in the Football Association. So that those people who will come here 10 years, 20 years later will have a blueprint to follow. And we started to really go back and say, what is it that we have done well? What do we think we must eliminate from the process? And what is the new things that we must introduce so that we prepare a team with, from Namibia with a population of only 2.5 million.
At that time,
At that time. The same number that Nigeria have in terms of coaches. And not players, coaches.
Yes.
And small budget, with all the inadequacies of Namibian football. For you to be able to compete at that level, to qualify a team for the Africa Cup of Nations, you must do things at a higher level and extraordinary things, actually. And we started to do that, and that is the process. And then we brought in Ronnie Kanalelo, in my opinion, the best on-pitch football coach in this country.
But he gets a lot of stick as well from the fans.
It's because he's so good. It is because he's so good. And I always tell people that the one thing that Ronnie cannot do is, Ronnie is not your best. He's not an orator. He's not a Ricardo Manetti. Ricardo Manetti can captivate audiences.
So he has the charisma.
Yes, Ricardo has the charisma. So that's why he's most fitted to manage the whole set. But Ronnie is an integral part of the set. So that's the difference between the two. Ronnie, if you put Ronnie on the pitch to coach attacking from the wing, I don't think you have better in this country. You don't have a person in this country that lives football like Ronnie does.
When you had the FA, besides him coaching the national team, how else did you use him? How else did you use Ronnie?
Ronnie?
With all that knowledge that you are telling us.
Ronnie is a technical person. He's a technical giant in terms of, he must coach all the time. He must train other people how to coach all the time.
Did you use him in that capacity to train?
Oh yes, we did.
In schools?
Coaching.
Teaching coaches,
yes, that's
school teachers?
What we did. We send him, it's only that you feel the effects of a person long after he has gone. But what is happening in Kavango East, when Kavango East became
newspaper champion,
and when Kavango East became independent or separated from Kavango West, Kavango West when they separated from Kavango East, the person that went there to lay the foundation of the new region now in terms of coaching was Ronnie. And to this day, if you ask the former chairman, a guy called my friend, he's from Zambezi originally, but he was working in Kavango West.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
the name will come.
Yeah, the name will come. Who was the former chairman? He could not. He cannot stop talking about what Ronnie did to help Kavango West football. Laying the foundation, the coaches that are there, the quality of them, and that led to them winning the newspaper cup. I think they were the defending champions recently.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so one of the processes was the appointment of coaches. The other process now, appointment of other staff at FA, the FA, the women's desk, you haven't spoken about them?
That again. You know, you remember we had only 12 teams in Namibian football, 12 women football teams. When we started with, restructuring the women football desk and so on. And Jackie Shipanga was working for a non-governmental organization at the time that was headquartered in Cape Town, but she was the chief representative here. And we were using her as a women football coaching instructor. And of course, we wanted to bring her in. I went to see her and we convinced her. One, we sent her to the FIFA Masters program. And we did that intentionally because we wanted the football bug to really bite so that negotiations are easier. And she went to Zurich and she studied there. She was in the shadow of football house in Zurich, and she was really ripe for us to attack. And that's what when we went to see her and we wanted to bring her, we needed to negotiate a little bit, benefits and all this stuff. And eventually she came over. And Jackie Shipanga, Jackie Herze was already on board. And now we started to really aggressively attack women football.
But I have a question there now when it comes to women's football. You speak about Jackie Shipanga so highly. I've traveled a bit in Africa, not as much as you have done, maybe a quarter or less of what you have done. Every African country where I go and I tell them that I'm coming from Namibia, and we speak about women's football, Jackie's name is mentioned. If you look at Uganda, they mentioned there, Malawi, they mentioned there, Botswana, they mentioned there, just to name those three countries.
You can go as far as West Africa, East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania.
Well, I haven't been there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm mentioning these three because I sort of a face-to-face speak with those people, and they spoke of you so highly. But then, when I hear what they say that side, and when I see what's happening here, there's a lot of disparities.
We have the same experience. Ashford Mamelodi, my friend from Botswana, the best Secretary General on the African continent, by far. He's not as much appreciated in Botswana as elsewhere on the continent.
Why is it like that? Why is football like that?
Our people are, in Namibia and Botswana, I call it the small community syndrome. Because I know this guy from the next street. I cannot believe that he is the one pushing this thing. Namibia's qualification is because of Peter Ubeyan. It's not Barry Rukoro. It's not Ims Namasep. It's not John Munyo. Nothing to do with Pedro Damas. It's because this German guy coming from Germany. It's because of Ben Bamfuchile. It's not these guys. These guys, we grew up together in Katutura. They don't nothing.
So we underestimate each other.
Oh yes.
But also I feel that the NFA...
listen to me here. When I go, because I was also a FIFA instructor in administration and management.
Yes.
There are people on this continent who demanded that I go and present their causes in Zambia, in Kenya, in other countries. But if I call an administration and management course and I'm presenting it here in Namibia,
nobody comes.
Nobody comes. No Premier League team comes. It's only the second division teams who will come. You understand? That's the situation. That's how.
But I feel as the FA
But the
also,
moment it is somebody from Swaziland or Lesotho coming to present, people who look up to me, they think I'm their god. You understand? The Namibians will come.
Okay. But I feel at the FA, you did not use Jackie to a full potential.
You see, you may think so, but how else could we have driven Namibian football from 12 teams to becoming the second largest sports in this country?
I mean, how
Bigger women football in Namibia at my time, I don't know now. At my time, women football in Namibia was bigger than rugby.
That's a controversial statement to make.
No, it's true. In terms of the number of clubs, the number of participants, you understand? The number of participants, the number of matches played in women football was more than rugby.
Okay.
I did these comparisons.
I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take
Yes.
that, and let's pack it there.
Yes.
Moving on, because we don't have time really. There's a lot to discuss with you, but we need to move on. Let's look at the controversial aspects of your life in football, starting with your playing days.
You wanted to ask me questions about Kahiri, don't forget.
No.
Okay.
We'll get there. Starting with on your playing days. There was a match in Rehoboth that you ran from the goalpost. You were a goalkeeper, by the way, during your playing days. So you were a goalkeeper, you are in the other goal, an incident happens there. Why are you laughing? So you ran from your goal post to go do whatever you did there. Can you explain what you did to the match officials?
No, nothing.
To the opponents?
I did nothing. You will not believe this, Marco. I never fought anybody in football physically.
No, that's not true.
On a football pitch, never. You
That's
must
not
ask.
true.
You must ask anybody who know me. Really,
That's
I
not
was
true.
the peacemaker all the time. I
But
played.
that particular incident, you remember it?
Yes, I played for a very fiery team, Desert Rollers at the time, and the guys there they could defend themselves.
Okay.
But
Hold it there.
but-
Defend themselves from what? From the football match?
Yeah,
or?
football in that time was not only about ability and playing ability and skill. It was also about
other
whether you can
factors from
stand
outside,
up.
yeah.
Yes, whether you can stand up for yourself or not, and that was a big part of playing an away match. You understand? Because the referees were more friendlier to the home teams than to you.
So that's what led you to run across the pitch.
Of course, those kind of incidents used to happen those days.
If you look back at them,
If I look at them, you feel a little bit embarrassed. But of course, they were part of growing
I'm
up.
glad you admit that. But there were sort of, even as an official, there were sort of some of those incidents that came through. Would you say it was because of where football came from?
Oh yes, that's the journey we traveled. That's the journey we traveled. We should not really feel ashamed of the things that happened at the time. We must realize that it is the journey that we needed to travel, and every country had that part of their history.
But that history is not told enough. Now I'm asking you to explain it to you. You're not telling me.
Of course,
I'm not saying
particularly in
encourage it.
Hobabes.
Yeah, I'm not saying
particularly in
encourage it,
Hobabes, the other day I was during the year 94, I think. Desert Rollers went the whole season undefeated. We were only beaten by Black Africa in a semi-final of the NFA Cup here. Being a second division team at the time, it was quite an achievement. We won the Metropolitan Cup. We lost to Black Africa in the NFA Cup in the semi-final, and then they decided to do us a certificate, of which I have a copy even on my phone. So And I was breaking, you know, the other guy that was, we were talking about yesteryear. And I said to him that, look, that year we went undefeated. You could not have beaten us that year. And then he said, no, but you were also just beating people up here. So, and I said, yeah, but it was part, you know, it was part of that time. Everything was fine and well. It was part of the process, you know, beating up. Because nobody, you did not beat anybody up. You know, you beat those that you could beat. And you
get beaten by those that can beat you.
Yes, precisely. Yeah. That was part of the process.
All right. One day there was a press conference at Football House. Somebody irritated you from the, I think it was from the Republican. And we were walking out. I don't know what happened because I was facing the other direction. But I heard sounds and I had a colleague screaming. What did you do to my colleague?
No, many people said I assaulted the guy, but I did not really. You know what happened is, we had this guy who was planted. The guy was planted. He was a foreign journalist.
Yes, and, working at the Republican.
Yeah, he was working at the Republican, and he came with what is the guy's name? The white boy.
Andrew.
Yeah, I think he came with Andrew, and he was planted to ask these funny questions.
But what a funny question.
Let me explain this thing. And he, you know, when somebody is intentionally asking, you give him the answer, and then he continues to ask this funny question again and again, as if he does not understand, trying to instigate the whole audience. And there was meant to be one long, you know, press conference. And you remember I introduced a break, you know, there was some snacks outside in the corridor. So I said, no, let's go and take and then come back. And I realized that he was standing by the door. He was by the door. So he will be the first person following me out. So, and he really did that. So, and there was eat some more biscuits, you know, on the table. And then, you know, as he was coming and talking into my face here, I just pressed the biscuit in his mouth, and that's it. That's really what happened. And I think it was, you know, a part of growing up. And then we went back into the press conference, and things were very normal, and the press conference ended very well. Everybody understood where we were coming from.
I'll let you judge the explanation given now. And then now we move on now to the time me and you spoke. I remember it was December. I was covering the Desert Dash. You called me and you told me that next year, January, you must come to my office the second week of January. I need to tell you big news. I said, what are the big news? You said, I want to leave football forever. You remember that time?
Yes.
Yes, so you wanted me to break the news, and which I felt very honored and proud that you had, of all the journalists in the country, you chose to call me.
You're my friend.
Yeah, but you almost beat me one day also.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I even disciplined my children.
So there you are, and I keep it to myself. I didn't even tell my colleagues that Jerry is planning on this because I wanted to have the scoop. I come back January. The then president of the NFA had gone to, I think, to Mexico for the FIFA summit or something, and somehow there was a misunderstanding between you and President Franz Mbidi, and suspensions started coming in, and obviously the relationship, you know, dynamics changed. What happened there?
I must tell you, it was a very turbulent time. In football.
The lowest?
I think it's the lowest we have gone. Because football became very, very trouble. I'm sitting on a Saturday morning. I'm sitting in my office. I remember Tigers Football Club is having an AGM somewhere. I get this call from a Tigers insider, a guy who was working with us at the NFA, doing some work around the NFA. He calls me He said, Barry, where are you? I said, I'm in the office. At the NFA office. Oh, what are you doing Saturday morning? I said, no, I'm working. Oh, okay, no, just wait for me, I'm coming now. So the guy comes to my office and he tells me, look, I'm coming from the Tigers AGM. The knives are out for your head. I said, oh. I mean, it's not the first time in my life. I mean, this has happened before.
Yeah.
So, and I said, what is the issue? He said, no. The president of the NFA and your friend Faya Vatilifa were invited guests at the NFA, at the Tigers AGM. And on stage, both the president and Faya Vatilifa are saying that the Herreros are too powerful in football. The Secretary General position must be taken back so that we can do the things that we really want to do. At the moment, we cannot do these things. And remember, at the time, I'm looking at this guy, and he's not Herrero.
The one who's telling you?
Yes, he's not Herrero. And of course, I realized that maybe he's covering his bread because he was doing a lot of work for the Football Association. That's why he's telling me. But of course, later on, I got to hear from other people to confirm the story, who were there at the time. So that's where it started. Because, and that is where people like Lucas Nanyemba, them also really got involved. And where the story, where, you know, where the people who later on became the progressive forces and so on. So the whole story started as a tribal war.
So that changed your mindset to say, I'm not going to resign now.
Yes.
I have to protect football.
Precisely. Because I knew what they were coming from. And
where were they coming from?
Look, when you work in in a particular environment, and you have worked with various people, remember, everybody in the progressive forces has at one time or another served in football. And of course, when you say, no, you cannot coach, Ricardo is a better coach.
It hurts them.
But it hurts them. If you take Ali Akan, he wanted to coach the national team, for example. So when you appoint Ricardo Manetti instead of him, he will think, why Ricardo Manetti? So immediately he becomes angry with the appointing authority. And he joins those that are anti-you, not knowing that the basis of this thing is tribal. He joins. You understand? So everybody who gets upset with you immediately joins the other group. And that is how it grew and grew and grew over the years. And I knew I could read the game, that at one stage or another I will be forced to leave. You will, if you go to my staff, the people working at the NFA, I kept on telling them, maybe for 4 years, I kept on telling them, you know, one day I will leave, and I will leave you here. So you must get these things right. If I did not do that, girls like the Miriams, the Jessicas, the Lorenz, they will not be there. Because I had about 4 years to get them right, to be able to adjust to new working environment and whatever. You know, when I go to Football House now or when I meet them, they can't stop thanking me for getting them ready for the process. Sorry, the process that started with normalization, 2 normalizations, new executive, another normalization. You know, they could not have survived that.
Okay. So now.
So I did not only do that. I told them, you know, people like Cole Mugenje, for example, who who came to football houses, you know, you are maintenance guy, you know, fixing at a very low salary. So I kept asking him, what are you doing with your money? You know, we send you with the national team. Are you buying cattle? You know, one day I will not be here. People will fire
after
you.
Yeah.
People will come after you. Then you must go home and say, no, you will have cattle, you look after your cattle, you have time to look for other employment. So those are the things that really were dear to me. Today when I'm here, Jessica have become a security officer at CAF level, Lorraine is a commissioner, you know, the people they are continuing to grow.
All right, so before we get lost, so that happens, you are told that the knives are out for you. What do you do as a reaction to that?
Play chess.
Okay, take us through the game. Because a lot happened, you got suspended, and the president got suspended after I think you had mobilized the executive committee to suspend the president until FIFA came in.
You see, I was supposed to have left the NFA or have been fired maybe 6 years before. I remember at the time
Munyo was president.
Yeah, at the time that Munyo was president, and Bidi was still a normal executive committee member. We went to Marinda for a consultative meeting. And one morning I just woke up and I said, why do I need to fight Munyo? Munyo appoints me. But there are people who appoints Munyo. Do you understand the game?
Yes.
So my alliance are the people who appoints Munyo.
Which is the regions.
Which is the regions. So if Munyo want to get rid of me, he must get the message from the people who appoints him. So when I went out and I served the regions, seriously. I served the regions. My regions were happy with me. We went to Marinda. I was supposed to be offered a 1-year contract so that after 1 year the NFA must look for somebody else. And the region said no.
So would you say now, because there's this belief that you planted your people in the regions so they could support your
I did not plant anybody.
You supported certain people that had your back.
I supported the regions. I served the regions. As Secretary General, your job is to serve. You must serve.
The regions.
The regions, the people who appoints you, and the people who appoints the people who appoints you.
So you controlled. You said, "I'm going to control the regions."
No, the people. You must make people want to have you.
Okay.
You must serve them so well that they want to have you.
All right, and then that scuffle there between you and BD brings in the normalization committee. Take us through the day the police came to get you out of soccer house.
No, let me take you through the days running up to that.
Okay.
Of course, you will remember that at the time FIFA was also now aligned with BD.
Yes.
But they could not fire me because they had nothing with my appointment to do with my appointment. And BD also having lost control over the executive and most of the regions, he was not even coming to the office. He have lost control of the Football Association. So.
And that was a very bad time.
Very, very. The West. I don't think we can go deeper than that in terms of how bad it was, but so we had this situation where nobody really had control of the Football Association, and BD was completely disaligned to what was happening. He was communicating directly with FIFA without having any control of what was happening in Football House at the time. And what was the question again?
No, you're saying you're taking me through the days before you were moved out of the office.
Oh yes.
Yes.
And FIFA of course started to communicate with other people other than myself. They will write to Miriam, the finance lady in the office. And I knew from that now is the time. I've already started moving out of the office. I've already taken my stuff out of the office. Everything that I thought is mine belongs to me was already in my house. I think we went December, January, we came back, and then the process of normalization started. At the beginning of February 2019, FIFA landed here, and they introduced the normalization committee. I was on the farm when they were doing all this over the weekend.
You didn't know FIFA was here?
I knew.
Okay.
I knew that they were here, but of course I was getting my things ready, moving stuff back to my house and so on. And then when FIFA, when the announcement was made that Hilda Basson was appointed, you remember only a few weeks before, we had a public spat in the media with Hilda Basson at the time. And she was appointed. So now, and I thought it was strategic because me and Hilda had a fight only 2 weeks before. Now she is supposed to be my boss at the NFA. I think FIFA went out to look for the angriest person with me and appoint her so that she can easily get rid of me. So,
your spat with Hilda, where did it come from? Just for context.
No, you will remember that that was the time then when Hilda ran a newspaper.
Yes, the Patriot.
And, the Patriot. And she published a whole a breakdown of the money spent for the African Women Championship.
Yes.
And,
AFCON,
yeah, for the AFCON
2014,
women.
Yeah.
Yes. No, not
was it
the
AFCON or COSAFA?
The COSAFA. She did the COSAFA one.
Yes.
She did the COSAFA one, and she did not do the women one.
Yes.
And of course...
Why did she not do the woman one?
That's where I'm coming now. Yeah. You will remember that we gave her the tender to do the VIP for the Samnioma and the Independence Stadium, the VIP area, provide food, decoration and decor and everything within, and she made I think over $1 million if I'm not mistaken. And when the COSAFA came, we did not have the same amount of money, and we had to really scale down. And she did not agree to do it, and she thought that she was hard done by. So when the COSAFA came and passed without her involvement, she took the opportunity to get back at me, accusing me of so many things because I did not agree to increase the money.
But if you look at the gap, COSAFA was 2016,
yes.
And that story was published in 2018, 2019.
Yes.
Yeah, the time.
Yes. No, they went even further. They went even further back in terms of what they thought they are uncovering. So, of course, she was very upset and angry at the time because she did not receive that tender, and she thought that the tender was given to other people and other people benefited and so on. And she went out, attacking me, and then I put the facts to on the table, and people started to doubt and she was not very happy and impressed about that.
So would you feel she did you bad
No.
with that publication?
No. You know, I've seen worse things in my life. I've seen worse things in my life. I mean, she owes me nothing. You understand? I will feel bad for a person that I have emotional attachment with. Even if she did me a small bad thing, I will say, but why she? You understand? But Hilda, I feel nothing. He's a complete stranger for me.
Okay.
So I feel nothing, and I expect these things to happen to me. If they don't happen, I mean nothing.
Something is wrong.
Yeah, something is wrong.
So then then she's appointed to be your boss, and you've had that spat. What was going through your mind?
Now this is the one that I felt bad about.
Yeah.
So, this is something that I learned later. I came to the office in the morning. I didn't spend much time there. On the Monday morning, I think I had another meeting somewhere. So I went to that meeting. I came back, and I was in my office doing a few last bits, you know, just. And I was told that Hilda was there when I was not there, and she asked to be told that I'm there so that she can come and see me. Okay. So, and my friend Tim also just arrived. And I'm told this later on, that, you know, in Football House, you don't just say anything in the corridor or sitting in your office. You must walk out, you know, towards the parking lot there, so that you can talk to people. So and I'm told Tim is the one who alerted Hilda, so that
Tim Isaacs.
Tim Isaacs, my friend, the guy that I, you know, and that's the part that I really felt bad about. But Tim is a very strategic guy. He knows how to jump lines. You understand allegiances and to shift those allegiances. He understands that game very well. He knows precisely when to vote with who. You know, so he leaves the office. I'm told I'm in my office. He leaves the office and he calls. As he leaves, he tells Hilda that now Barry is here now. Now you must send the guys.
Which guys? The bouncers?
The police guys.
Oh yes.
You remember?
Yeah, I remember.
You remember there were two combis.
Yes.
You know, full of
special forces.
And so on. With guns, you know, these people were coming like they were coming for Putin. You understand? So, and he went and made this call. And, you know, in the whole episode, that's the part that I was a little bit disappointed about.
Did you talk to Tim about it?
I think just in passing, but not seriously. That was, but I have this ability to page. You know, my life is never constant. You know, my life is a journey. You know, I move on all the time. So I've forgiven him, I've moved on. Now we are back to normal. Okay. Yeah,
so you go out of Football House. What were the disappointments of you going out of Football House? What would you say were the lowest points after you left Football House? What was your feeling?
I think you came to see me at my house at the time.
Yes.
And, you know, I was this guy who was committed to my job every day in the office, pushing boundaries, working late hours and so on. You know, when I came into football, I was not as chubby as I became in football. But it became so because I was sitting behind the desk all the time, trying to do things for a small football association so that we can compete at the highest level on the continent. And it kind of became bored all the time, you know. I was bored.
So you didn't regret, you're just bored?
Yeah, no. You know, like I said, my life is too, you know, it's a journey. I move on all the time. So, but then quickly I started driving my kids around to training after school, you know, and I took over my wife's job, you know, doing all these errands for the boys. And then also I started to go frequently to the farm, more peaceful, time to think, what is it that you want to do next, and so on and so on. And then I kind of half moved to Robabes, started getting involved with desert rollers again, going to the training pitch in the afternoon, trying to remember some of the things that I copied from all the coaches, you know, and then my family moved to Robabes, and it became, that is the time that I really settled down.
Yeah. There were questions here that were sent to me, let me see, by different people, because I spoke to people that I'm going to ask you questions. Oh yes, before you left Football House, there were accusations that your wife was bailing out the Football Association through loans, which would be paid back to her in form of interest and stuff.
No, not Football Association. Football Association officials. My wife ran a cash loan business.
Yeah.
I remember when one of my officials got married, he borrowed money from my wife. Tem was a frequent customer. So there were so many people
That
who
would
were
come, from Football House.
from football, from boxing also, you know, from other sports codes. The sports environment was her main core of business. So
Is she still running it now?
my wife now is in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
No, I thought I could come in there.
but I'm still keeping it alive.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's not as effective as my wife was doing it.
Oh, okay. So it was not the Football Association
No.
that was benefiting, it was
No,
the
no.
officials. Was that not conflict of interest? Would you not say it's conflict of interest?
No.
Were those people not then forced to dance to a certain tune because they owed your family money? Would you not have control over them because they owed you money?
No, I will not think so, because
Okay.
that was a business completely away from
football.
what was happening here.
All right. And then the next thing that I have here. All right. This one will probably ask you.
And I had control over my employees anyway.
And
Yes. I never lose control.
okay. What is your relationship with Hilda right now?
Like I said, I don't know her. I don't know her. I know her from, being a media personality of a particular social standing.
Have you met her after that incident?
After
The
no,
police came in? You've never met?
no, we met in Lusaka actually.
For the Brave Warriors versus Zambia?
For the Brave Warriors, I followed the team
Yes.
to Zambia in my private capacity. Of course, she didn't like the fact that I was lodged at the same hotel where the team was. She didn't like the fact that I went to celebrate the qualification because we lost that match, you remember?
Yes, but they qualified, the team qualified.
Yes, with the team. She didn't like it that I went into the dressing room to congratulate the boys. But of course, I knew that she will not like it, and I did it anyway, because I'm never stopped by those small stuff.
Yeah. 2019, the AFCON, after the team qualified, there was a lot of debates and issues and, salaries issues and so on and so forth. We saw them again this year that is in where the Brave Warriors played now, in Ivory Coast. The issue of salaries. During your time, we never had those issues. What would you say led to those issues of the Brave Warriors and the monies and?
You see, I don't blame the whole group too much.
The whole group is in? The players?
In terms of the players and the officials, I don't blame them too much. And those are the things that in Namibia we don't appreciate. When we want change, we want complete change. A complete breakaway from the past. Even when the past had good elements, you don't take it with you. And you leave important intellectual capacity in how things are done in that process. I'm sure that if, for example, Stiga was part of that team, leading the players, negotiations will have been done completely different. If I was there, negotiations will have been completely different. Not that I'm saying I should have been there, but or anybody of my knowledge. Now, you know, if you hear that we only discussed the group matches and we did not discuss the knockout stage, it's because nobody had
a vision,
the understanding that it may happen. Because remember, what I said to you earlier about intellectual capacity. When we planned these things originally, we sat down and we said, first we must qualify for COSAFA. We must do very well in COSAFA. Very well means semi-final, final, or winning the competition. So in 2015, we won the competition. That was achieved. And then we said we must qualify for Chan. We qualified for Chan, but we did not only qualify for Chan. We went to the knockout stages of Chan. Next was qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. We did that. Because of all the fights between Hilda and the team, the next stage for us was qualification for the World Cup. We were supposed to go to the last World Cup if the process was not disturbed.
Do you think we stood a chance?
Oh yes, because the process was there. So anybody in my capacity will have anticipated this team to go to the next round. And you will not have left it open.
Mr. Perry, are you saying we could have qualified for the World Cup?
I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
Okay.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
So
the process, everything was, we were overachieving in every stage. We wanted to do well in COSAFA. We won COSAFA. We wanted to qualify for Chan.
We won the matches.
We won the matches at COSAFA. We went to the next round. You understand?
At Chan, yes,
at
Chan.
The Chan.
Yeah.
You understand? So we qualified for Egypt. And we qualified for this one.
In Ivory Coast.
In Ivory Coast. There is no way in my mind that I will have sat there and think that we will not go to the second round. You understand? So I don't blame the people who were there because they did not know where we are coming from. They did not understand the journey.
Okay, interesting. Now, recently you were seen shaking the hands of NFA president, and the rumor is that you will return to football in one capacity or the other. What has transpired so far after that meeting in Hobabis?
We keep talking to each other, not necessarily about the appointment, but we are greeting. We are saying, hello, how is it? How was the day? Yeah, that is important.
So there's an appointment pending?
Yeah, that's what I was made to understand.
Okay, I think that would be my next question. In what capacity?
I don't really know. The thinking of the president, I think that is for the president to say. But I think I can serve football in so many capacities. You know, not be, even if I'm just on the periphery of what is happening, I can advise, I can lead a committee, I can be part of a committee, I can do so many things. I can lead a delegation to a particular negotiation. I can do so many things for football without being mainstream. Yeah.
Are you? What is your relationship with the members of the executive committee that are currently there?
I've very, you know, I always regard myself, and I tell people that I don't have enemies. I have friends of different levels. Some people are more friendlier than others, but all of them are my friends. Situde is somebody that I've, like Willie Swarts, only Willie Swarts is more deeper. But Situde is somebody we fight every day, somebody we are friendly with every day.
All right, finally, from my side, let's talk about Chula Chula. What do you think of their performance this year in the Namibia Premier Football League?
Very impressive. They have done very well. I think the last time I checked, they were 5 or so.
Yeah, 5, 6, yeah.
Yeah. So they have really done very well. I met the chairman when they came to Hobabis to play Young African. We greet, we call each other, we text each other. So Swani is now my new friend.
But you made some statements that did not sit well with Chula Chula supporters. The internet, you almost broke our Namibian internet.
You see, sometimes I'm less understood. But the more you listen to me, the more you think about what I'm saying, the more you will appreciate the truth.
So you still stand by your statements that you made?
Of course, I will not say anything that I will not stand by.
Chula Chula hasn't shifted your mind, changed your mind that, no, I think I was wrong here?
No, it was never about Chula Chula. It was about what is happening in the country.
It was a national issue.
The fact that I mentioned Chula Chula does not make it the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is about parity and fairness of sharing the Namibian cake. That's what it is. That's what it is. The moment you listen to that and you put that in your mind, forget it, it can be any other team. Chula Chula is not the issue. And I think, we had a good time with the Chula Chula boys in Hobabis during the match. We ate a lot of goat and sheep meat during the match.
Yeah.
And I think they really... We are now, yes, and we are friends now.
Because I know the chairman responded to you through the media.
At the time.
At that time, yes.
At the time, but of course, you will not believe me, Marco. I never listen to the responses when I think people misunderstood me. I keep hammering at the beat. I keep hammering at the beat, and I'm not listening. When I think somebody is not responding to what I'm saying, I'm not listening to what he says in return. I keep saying this until they get the message.
All right. Yes. In terms of the Brave Warriors now, what is your feeling about the Brave Warriors?
You see, and this is what I love about process. Again, when we realized that what my former president and friend Franz Bidi was going on about, we knew that we may not survive into the next generation. Not only me, Ricardo was also to become persona non grata. You understand? So now for us to carry this through to the next stage, we needed to bring in somebody untainted. And that is how Collin Benjamin came in. So that he became the new vehicle to carry the ideas through. So I cannot say much than to say that I'm proud. I'm very, very proud of what he has become.
Finally, the 5 years of football.
And you know where it started? I went with the under-17 team
to Mauritius,
to Germany.
Oh, okay.
To Germany. And Collin was invited by our German counterparts to come and say a few words to the boys during a function. Then I asked Collin, when are you coming back home? He said, no, I'm planning, I want my children to grow up in Namibia. So I said, Collin, you must come back. And when you come back, we must talk so that you come and help us. You remember he was coaching at the time.
In Germany,
in Germany.
Yeah.
So that's where the first discussions took place.
But when you came here, you also made him run around for his Opsol.
I'm a long-term planner. You were saying?
When he came back, you made him run around for his Opsol project. in terms of the registration and recognition for it to get recognized by the NFA?
I can't remember. I can't get it what you're saying.
Because for a few years it was not recognized. I remember there were players that were playing in Hopsol and they would never get called for the national team because Hopsol was not under the NFA's.
It was politics. Remember we had, what is his name? Dave.
Yes.
As chairman of Commerce at the time.
Yeah.
And we have established a Commerce Youth League at the time. And here Collin was coming with a new youth league operating in the same space that David Kwagoseb was operating in. And he felt threatened by Collin. He was my political principal. He was the chairman of a region, a powerful region for that matter, Commerce. And he needed protection at the time. So it was a political decision, nothing to do with youth football. He was exerting pressure on the executive. He was not only chairman of Commerce, he was on the executive committee of the NFA as well, you remember. So he was my direct boss. And Collin, and also an important, he had a political region. So he was exerting pressure on the executive, and the executive was exerting pressure on me. I could see the need because the catchment area for youth football in Commerce is so huge. But of course the other guy was feeling threatened and he was in a senior position.
All right. There was an incident now involving the Players Union with Lolo Goraseb and Olsen Kairiri. And Olsen Kairiri identified you in one of our podcasts here that you are the cancer of Namibian football.
Yeah. You want me to say something about that?
Are you the cancer of Namibian football? Let's start from there.
I think that's not for me to judge. That's for the general public to judge. But all I'm going to say is the following. Here sits somebody who, if I was selfish, I would have said single-handedly, moved Namibian football from 60,000 to 30 million. If I'm selfish, I can say that. And I can defend that.
In terms of sponsorship?
Yes. I push you from position 50 in terms of money invested in football to position 6 on the continent. I took this country in a space of less than 30 years to 4 Africa Cup of Nations, 2 chants, 3 finals of the COSAFA, 1-1. Under 17 titles at COSAFA level. Cancer? Is that cancer? Broaden the mass participation in football in this country. Move women football to the 2nd largest sports code in this country. That's cancer. So I don't have anything to say to Kairiri. Kairiri must read this, must listen to this.
Yeah, but you stopped the Players Union.
No, I did not.
You did not register them with the FA.
No, it's not my decision, it's an executive decision. Kairiri and Lolo agreed for the Players Union to become a member of the NFA, just like women football. You understand? And later on they changed. So it became a political tussle between them and the executive. I'm not a football politician. I'm a football administrator.
What did you advise them to do?
I implement things decided by the executive committee.
Okay, how important is a Players Union in a country like Namibia, and what would you have advised them? What did you advise them then so that the Players Union works?
You know, if there is anything in Namibian football that I'm not sure of, is the role that a football union, a players union can play in Namibian football.
Maybe you can explain it a bit?
Yes, because why? If a club like Life Fighters can only afford to pay 2,000 Namibian dollars to a player, how do you force Life Fighters to pay 6,000 Namibian dollars? How do you do that?
Okay, makes sense, yes.
So that's why I do not understand what Kahiriri and Lolo them wanted to do. For me, it was a business, a money-making business. They received this money from the Africa, the parent
Fifth
company,
Pro and yes.
Fifth Pro and so on. And they spent that money amongst themselves on leisure trips across the country, pretending to do work there and there. You know, ask them today, what did they do with the money? How much money they received into millions, and what they did with that money in terms of growing football in this country. What did they do for the players of this country with that money? They can tell you nothing. So that is why, for me, it was not important at all.
Not important. Not important at all. Those are the final words from Mr. Berry Rukoro. I wish we had more time. I think we should do a second round because there are a lot of questions that are still needed to ask you, but time does not allow us to do that. Mr. Rukoro, thank you very much for joining us, and please give us part 2. We are even prepared to come to the farm and do it at the farm.
Why not?
All right.
Why not?
That was the end of this session for today. We'll be back again next time. Remember to like, follow, and comment on our social pages. That is Game Time with Marco. Thank you very much.
Thank you.